joint subcommittee. Meeting will come to order. The clerk will take the roll.
Senator Rose, Senator Oberweis, Senator McConkey.
Here.
Senator Fowler, Senator DeWitt.
Here.
Senator Curran.
Here.
Senator Anderson.
Here.
Senator Villavelon.
Here.
Senator Sims. Senator McGuire. Senator Kaler.
Here.
Senator Crow.
Here.
Senator Collins. Senator Bush. Here. Senator Bertino Tarrant. Senator Bennett. Senator Aquino. Senator Menard.
Here.
Senator Sandoval.
Present.
All right, good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for being here today. I will give an order of business in just a moment, but I wanted to welcome everyone to our third joint subcommittee hearing that we have produced in the State Senate to show and to begin to catalog what the needs are in terms of the state's infrastructure. Technically, this is a joint committee hearing between the subcommittee on capital and infrastructure in the Senate Appropriations 2 Committee, which I chair in the Senate, along with the subcommittee on capital and infrastructure of the Senate Transportation Committee, which my dear friend and colleague, Senator Marty Sandoval, chairs in the Senate. So as I said, this is our third hearing. We have several more to go, but our goal today is to listen to individuals, organizations, local governments on the local level and catalog needs, certainly here in Decatur and Macon County, so that we can have a better sense of what the overall need in the state is. Of course, we know the need is great, but advocacy and a better understanding always begins at the local level. So we want to thank the Park District for hosting us. I haven't seen Mr. Clevenger. I think there he is. Bill, thank you for accommodating us today. We appreciate you opening up the doors here for us, for members from around the state who have gathered. But I look forward to the testimony today and would like to now turn it over to my co-chair, Senator Sandoval, for any opening remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Menard. It's great to be here, folks. I'm Marty Sandoval from the southwest side of Chicago. I've been the chairman of transportation since 2009. I was at the helm of being one of the main architects of the last transportation bill that we experienced in 2009 under Pat Quinn. My desire this time around was to make sure that we did this in a very bipartisan fashion, that we held hearings throughout the state. You have been chosen to be one of the hosts, so I appreciate that and thank those who made it happen here this morning, this afternoon. Also, as Senator Menard mentioned, I thought that it would be important to take a different approach to this capital bill during our under this new governor, that we take a different approach of not only understanding the needs of the people of the state of Illinois, but also trying to get feedback and some recommendations from the people of Illinois on how we should pay for it. So therefore, I thought it'd be a better approach, not only to have just a needs hearings around the state, but have also hearings that spoke to the revenue side. So therefore, that's why we've put together this model of hearings, the appropriation chair and the transportation chair, so that we can get a balanced approach to this conversation. I remember an accountant once told me, Marty, I understand the credits and I understand the debits, but where's the cash? And so I forewarn you, as you come up here and talk about the credits and the debits, as people learned in Edwardsville and in Chicago, or in Springfield, past two hearings, we want to understand about the credits and understand about the debits, but we want to hear from you, where are we going to get the cash? So be ready for that kind of questioning throughout this afternoon, because that's important. Without further ado, I want to recognize my minority leader on the Transportation Committee, Senator DeWitt. Would you like to have some opening remarks? Leader DeWitt.
Thank you, Chairman. Very briefly, thanks to everyone for coming out this afternoon. This is our third public hearing. We've already held hearings in Springfield and Edwardsville. We're happy to be here in Decatur today. We'll be up in Lake County, Illinois, Elgin, Chicago and Peoria as this process plays out. So looking forward to additional hearings. And I just want to say thank you to my Chairman Sandoval and Chairman Minar for the bipartisan approach that's been taken in this entire process. It's been very enlightening, and as the spokesperson for the Minority Caucus, I've been very pleased with how these have worked out, so thank you all very much. I'll turn it back to Chairman Sandoval. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator McConkey, who is the minority spokesperson for the Senate Appropriations 2 Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo my appreciation for both of the chairmen and their desire to do this in a bipartisan fashion. I think that that's absolutely necessary. But also the geographic diversity. Obviously, we are not all Chicago, and the rest of the state needs to make sure that they have what they need out of such a package like this as well. And so I just want to appreciate where we've started on that, and that's why it's so important for us to be able to hear your concerns today, because my being from the northwest suburbs of Chicago, I don't know kind of your concerns, so I really look forward to being educated today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our first testimony will come from Mayor Julie Moore-Wolf, City of Decatur, as well as Nicole Bateman, Executive Director for the Midwest Inland Port, Community Marketing Manager for Limitless Decatur and Macon County. So if both of those ladies would come on up. And while you're making your way, I'm going to read off our agenda today. Following the mayor and Ms. Bateman, we will have a panel on transportation infrastructure in regards to the county road system. Craig Fink, County Engineer of Tazewell County, Eric Sebring, County Engineer of Piatt County. Then we will have a healthcare panel, followed by 2 panels that will focus on community quality of life, both here in the city of Decatur, as well as other statewide and local issues, followed by a panel specific to parks and recreation, and then a panel for high-speed rail, and then finally a workforce development panel, Mr. Josh Sapp from IBW Local 146. So I read all those off just to remind everyone politely we have a hefty agenda. And to those testifying, I find personally, I don't speak for the panel, but the Q&A portion of these hearings so far has been very productive. So please keep your testimony succinct and precise so that the panel has plenty of time to ask questions and we can get answers to. So, Mayor, thank you for being here today. Please kick us off with your testimony.
Absolutely, Senator. Thank you so much. And to all senators, welcome to Decatur and Macon County. Nicole Bateman could not be here today, but Ryan McCready is here he is the president of the Economic Development Corporation of Decatur and Macon County. And this is Kevin Greenfield, who is the county board chairman. So I'll be making remarks on behalf of the city and the county, and then you can save all of the hard questions for the gentleman on either side of me. I wanted to tell you just a little bit about the transportation priorities for Decatur and Macon County, and to put us in context, Decatur is Illinois' 17th largest city. Macon County is the 19th largest county in the state. The region has been the backbone of the Illinois agricultural economy, with ADM and Tate & Lyle, which is the former A.E. Staley company. Both are located here. They process corn and soybeans, lots and lots of corn and soybeans. We have a history of being an industrial leader in the state. Understanding our position as a key gateway to national and international markets, the region identified transportation improvements needed to support and expand its role in the growing transportation, distribution, and logistics economy. The city and the county realized that to achieve success, coordination on transportation priorities was necessary. An agreement was signed in 2016, and since that time, the area has been awarded almost $46 million for our joint priorities. We'll start with the Southeast Beltway. In 1998, the region did the initial feasibility study of the Southeast Beltway to better provide access to the region's industrial and agricultural base. Building off of the feasibility study, the Phase 1 preliminary engineering, including the required environmental studies, which started in 2006 and culminated in a finding of no significant impacts, or FONSI, from the Federal Highway Administration in 2014, was updated in 2016. To date, over $500,000 in local funds have been used to match federal grants to do the feasibility study and Phase 1 engineering. The first phase of the project will connect Route 48 to Route 105, improving access to the industrial core and over 8,000 area jobs. There are 4 separate segments in the first phase. The first segment is to construct a new connection between Brush College Road and Route 48. This project was let with bids 30% below the engineer's estimate at $2.9 million. Construction will be completed this spring with funds from a 2014 IDOT grant. Section 2 is to replace and modernize raised bridges over Lake Decatur. The bridges were originally constructed in 1957, and one of the bridges has a federal sufficiency rating of 7.2 out of 100. It is one of the lowest in the county. The bridges have been posted and in 2016 faced closure until some temporary improvements could be done to keep them open. The cost to replace those bridges is $14.5 million. The county has obtained $4 million in IDOT major bridge funding and has committed $3 million from the 2014 IDOT grant, leaving another $7.5 million to be funded. The region has recently applied for federal discretionary grants for this project. Segment 3, build a new road to connect Route 48 to the new bridges, total cost $41.6 million. And the fourth segment is to build a new road, including a railroad overpass that connects the bridges on the east to Route 105. The total cost, $64.5 million. Talking about the Brush College Road Corridor, this project has 3 segments. The top priority segment is to construct a railroad overpass and interchange at Brush College Road and Ferries Parkway. Train traffic is estimated to block that crossing 24 hours per week in just a few short years. The crossing was also the highest accident crossing in the county. After coordination began, the city obtained $12 million from the ICC for construction, $25 million from IDOT's Competitive Freight Grant Program, and has committed to using $2 million remaining from the Illinois Jobs Now to construct this critical need. The preliminary engineering contract for this project is being executed with the goal of a November 2020 letting. Moving from north to south, the next priority is to construct a new rail overpass at the east end of the Norfolk Southern Rail Yard. The current underpass is functionally obsolete. The project is estimated to cost over $40 million, and it is the scariest underpass in the entire world. It's worse than a Disney ride. The final segment is actually an IDOT project to reconstruct the intersection with Brush College Road and Route 105, which is William Street. The cost of this project is estimated to be just under $10 million. And we do have some other projects on state routes that are a priority, and they include intersection redesign and signalization on Route 105 at the entrance to Tate and Lyle. There have been a number of accidents, including a recent fatality at that intersection. Route 51 through Decatur needs to be resurfaced, and I cannot emphasize how much I hear about the poor condition of this major roadway into our community. It is a constant issue my council members face when we're out talking to residents and groups. It is a constant source of concern in letters to the editor, and it has to be fixed. Regional commitment. Stakeholders are updated at least 2 times per year with meetings more often as needed. The city has implemented a 5-cent gas tax and a 1-cent diesel tax and leveraged the revenues for a $7.5 million program to address deteriorating city streets. The county has maximized its transportation levies and dedicated almost $400,000 annually to fund a portion of the work needed on the East Beltway. Private sector stakeholders have worked with the city and county with in-kind contributions of right-of-way for our critical projects. Everything, of course, comes down to results and benefits. And what we see are reduced congestion at rail crossings, improved access to the industrial core, better connections in the community to education and area jobs, improved economic development opportunities, and an overall improved quality of life for our residents. And we would be happy to answer any questions. I know I was throwing a lot of millions out there because we'd like all of the money to come to us. We know that's probably not likely, but we do have a very good history of working together, the city, the county, the Economic Development Corporation, the Chamber. We've also, when we go to Washington, it's the city and county together with business and labor. And we are going with a set of priorities that we're all on the same page for. So we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. McCready or Mr. Greenfield, would you like to offer any other remarks? We're just available for questions.
No, the only thing I would like to say, Chairman, is Chairman Rose called me on the way here, apologized he couldn't make it, but he promised me that he also would get with the mayor and I next week and go over some of the issues we have. But the mayor pretty well covered it very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Thank you, Senator. Well, I would like to just reiterate what the mayor said about this community working very well together between the city and the county, and also the business community between the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Corporation. Because of the creation of the Midwest Inland Port, Decatur is becoming a global site for trade, importing, and exporting. Well, our goal here is not just to grow the economy of Decatur, but to more importantly, grow the economy of the entire state. Many of you are aware of the congestion issues that exist in Chicago. We are not positioning ourselves to compete with the Chicago metropolitan area. Quite to the contrary, we're looking to complement them. The Chicago area is congested with freight that does not have Chicago at its final destination. Its destination is somewhere else in the Midwest or in Illinois. And by building the capabilities in Decatur, we stand to reroute some of that freight not destined to Chicago to other locations, thereby growing the entire economy of the state, but also allowing capacity to be added back into the Chicago metropolitan area and helping them also grow their economy. So our play here, although we are very interested in the Decatur metropolitan area, we also are interested in growing the economy of the entire state of Illinois. So I appreciate the time to offer those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for this panel?
Okay, one question.
Senator Villavam. Senator Kaler.
You mentioned that in the city of Decatur, you've implemented a 5-cent gas tax. And how long ago did you do that?
It was 3 years ago. It might be 4. I'm getting a little bit lost. Was it 2013, I think? But it has allowed us to pave about 7.5 miles of roads every construction year. We just do not get enough funding from the state to take care of all of our needs. And so our neighborhood streets were really deteriorating. So we went to our people and said, this is how it's got to be. It's a dedicated fund. Money off the gas tax goes directly into repaving neighborhood streets and for some economic development projects. We have recently awarded, there's a Love's truck stop that's being built here, and we did the streets and curbs into that from an economic development standpoint. But our neighborhood roads wouldn't get paved without our own funding.
So are you a home rule community?
are.
So you did that through that?
And I might mention, we've had some major infrastructure projects in this community. We are just completing a $90 million dredging project in our lake. That was paid for by local funds, not federal funds, not state funds. That came out of taxpayers of Decatur. Additionally, we were hit by the EPA, as many other communities have been. We've got an aging sewer system. We had to fix it, and we were really under the gun. That's $72 million that will be paid for by my community members. So, you know, when we come asking for help from the state and from the federal government, it's not like we haven't put our own money up. You know, additionally, the county puts up dollars for its projects as well, but we try to do this in the most coordinated, efficient manner possible. One thing we don't want to do is spend taxpayers' money unwisely. We don't want to study the same things and pay for the same things when we can coordinate. Additionally, as we build our projects, we want to make sure that they intersect. You know, most people don't know what a county road is versus a city road. I couldn't necessarily tell you every single one, but we have to do these projects together so we can get the most bang for our buck.
Do you know approximately how much money you raise each year by that tax?
From the gas tax, I'm trying to remember, it's around $3 million, I believe.
So the city, you use that for some of your infrastructure needs. What does the county do? If I could ask that.
I'm talking engineer here, but we've levied our tax as high as we can levy it right now. We've got money set aside in a fund. It's all gonna go towards this one bridge on Raised Bridge Road. Unfortunately, we're about $7 or $8 million short. And it's a vital bridge coming into the community. And, you know, IDOT could shut it down at any time. So we're really under the gun there.
Okay. So.
All right, thank you. Who's next? Senator Villavam.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. You know, as was said, this is our third hearing, and we've engaged in a serious discussion about minority contracting goals across the state. We look at the numbers, and we're not reaching those goals in a lot of different ways, whether it's the African American community, Latino community, the Asian American community, women, veterans. Can you speak to how you all have approached that in the projects that you've embarked upon?
Absolutely. Roughly 3 or 4 years ago, and I apologize that my time in my mind doesn't always keep up, the city enacted a minority business enterprise program. So any city project we have goals for minority participation, and we have exceeded it from a standpoint of workers participating, which is 18%. And we're getting better with that. An area where we're still working to improve would be in finding enough minority subcontractors. When we subcontract, we struggle with finding enough minority businesses in the area that we can hire, because they're either on other jobs because they're in high demand, or they have to come from so far away. So, but we're working on those goals and trying to make them as strong as possible. You know, when it's an IDOT project, it obviously falls under IDOT's rules, but we have our own for local projects too.
That's great to hear, and I would just encourage you, if you're having difficulty finding those subcontractors, please reach out to your elected officials so that we can try to connect you with organizations.
Absolutely, we will do that.
The other question I did have is in terms of where the investment is taking place, going along the same thread, how are you all able to do contracts or do projects in communities where there are African American communities, Latino communities? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. We are in the beginning phases of a complete neighborhood revitalization effort, primarily centered in the inner city, because we have so many homes that are on the demolition list, need to come down. But it's going to be about more than tearing down houses. We've got a lot of boarded up houses that need to come down, and frankly, for years, we didn't have the money to take them down. We had a few years where we hardly took down any. We've partnered with, on some major projects with our labor organizations. They've used some of the tear downs, major ones. We had a factory fire here that was abandoned, in order to do it more cost effectively, so they used it as a training exercise. But our neighborhood revitalization plan will be a comprehensive effort to do more than just tear stuff down. That's going to be part of the first, things we do. We've got to get rid of some of the more dangerous homes. But we want to build up our community. We've got some excellent workforce training going on. There's a program at Richland Community College with Courtney Carson. The Reverend Carson is here. It's his program. But they work to holistically do the soft skills necessary as well as the bigger skills necessary. But we've got like 1,100 jobs that are open in Macon County right now. We've got people who need those jobs. We're working to connect the two. We've got workforce investment dollars to train people, but there's a disconnect that we've got to cover that, cover across that. We had a series of focus groups in our community last winter. We had like 150 people coming out in the dead of night to talk about what was important to community revitalization. We had people from across the community, not-for-profits. We had business people. We had labor. We had regular people who just want to make a difference coming together saying this is what's important. We've prioritized those, and the comprehensive plan is being done in-house. We didn't hire a consultant to do it, so we're slower than most of us want it to be, but we're going to get it done.
Thank you, and just as a reference, I think as we're trying to reach the minority contracting goals as a state, then we also want to make sure that the investment that we're making in the capital bill goes to their communities as well.
Absolutely. And we have a 22% minority population here. They're a very vital part of our community.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions for this panel? Chairman Sandoval?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, based on the information I've been given, both Mayor and, is that President of the County Board? County Board Chairman. Mr. Chairman of the County Board. So, I understand you guys work well together when it comes to interfacing with the state. Is that correct?
We have really tried very hard in the recent past to make sure that we are on the same page. The Raised Bridge project is not a city project. It is the city's #1 priority from a major infrastructure standpoint, because the companies are primarily located in the city, the destination to Richland Community College. I mean, this is all very important, and so we work very hard to make sure that our priorities are on the same page and that we're together.
So, because politically you're both on opposite ends of the spectrum,
Yes,
correct?
my office is nonpartisan.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Mr. Greenfield's is not, but
Yeah. So, Chairman Greenfield, has the county adopted an MBE program?
No, we have not. We just, as of right now, just whatever the state has is what we go off of.
Do you believe that if you receive, there was a bill that flew through the Senate last year. It said that if you're a local unit of government that receives more than $1 million in motor fuel tax, you'd be required to implement an MBE program. You support that?
I'd have to give it a lot of thought, Senator. I support a lot of it, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I support 100% of it.
I had to draw a distinction between the county and the city of Decatur as the governor, our new governor that we just elected, he stated in his opening remarks of the budget address, he said emphatically, maybe you should take this back to the county board. He said emphatically that he will ensure that minorities get their fair share of state contracts. And so I think it's the intent of the body politic in the legislature to make sure that every unit of government feels the same way.
Senator, one problem we have here in Decatur is there are not a lot of minority contractors. The ones that we have, I'm 100% in favor of using. But I can tell you, to bring someone from out of town to do our work, I'd rather use local people. So if we can implement more minority contractors, then I support it 100%.
Well, there's more than just contracting work.
Or
There's
the
professional
workers either way.
service work
Yep,
that, like
correct.
legal services and accounting services and IT services and financial management services that when were you required to it's all portable work. You wouldn't need to be required to live in Decatur.
Correct.
So let me ask all three of you. So there are a couple of revenue proposals being floated around in Springfield today as we speak. One of them is a plastic bag tax. Mayor, you support a plastic bag tax statewide?
I am not as well versed in the plastic bag tax as I'm sure you are, but as I was picking up all the plastic bags from my trip to Kroger over the weekend, and there seemed to be way too many of them, and I do that way too often, I can understand the need for a plastic bag tax, and if it would help the environment, it would cut down on litter. There are a number of things it would do. It would force me to make sure I remember to take my reusable bags with me. It would be a good thing. I will tell you that my day job is at a hospital where the volunteers collect those plastic bags and they make home mats for the homeless because they are water resistant and they're comfortable. So there is some good use for plastic bags, but I don't see that I would have a problem supporting a plastic bag tax.
Chairman Greenfield, you support that concept?
First of all, I'd like to know how much it's gonna be, but second of all, we're in the process of possibly building a compost site here in Macon County. It's my understanding that money would go to the environmental part for the county, where we could use some of that money there. Currently, I'm a believer that we can't afford the compost site that's been presented to us. Obviously, that would help offset the cost. It would just depend on the cost of the bag, I guess. But if it was minimal, yeah, I could support it.
Mr.
I'm not an elected official. I represent a board of the Economic Development Corporation.
What is your name again?
My name is Ryan McCready.
McCready.
I'm with the Economic Development Corporation.
Would you support them if they imposed the bag tax?
Yeah, we have a good record of supporting what our city and county leaders do at the Economic Development Corporation. And I appreciate the difficult task the state faces in solving the fiscal challenges. And what I think is nice is to have everybody in discussions about how we go about making this cake, so to speak. And it's difficult for me to weigh in on any one issue of revenue enhancement until we can maybe have some discussions about what the bigger picture is. There's a lot of promising business reforms also being discussed, and I think it'd be we would need an opportunity from my board of directors to kind of take an examination of all those matters.
That's I don't know.
I don't know, because I have
don't
not
know
asked my
answer.
board for it. If I was to give you an answer today, it would not be fair and probably not stand well for me to do without discussing it with my board. We don't do a lot of political advocacy at the EDC, and most economic development organizations don't, because we want to make sure that we are well positioned to work cooperatively with the elected bodies that help support business in the state. And
Let me try another one, Mr. Grady.
Okay.
Would you support a 25-cent gas tax hike to pay for the needs that you're advocating for this morning?
Potentially, if we know the full picture of what the long-term solution is.
Don't give me a politician's answer now. 'cause
Well,
you expect most of us to answer a question like that.
Yeah.
Just yes or no.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm being fair. I've not talked to my board about that. I believe there are a whole lot of things that government and business and all the interested bodies of the state can come to a solution by working together. It's difficult for us to weigh in on one individual issue of each one without knowing the full picture.
Well, I tell your association they better start reading a lot real fast, because we've been talking about this gas tax since 2009 when we criticized Governor Quinn for using all kinds of other revenue streams that was not a gas tax. So for 10 years, we've been studying this. You should have an answer by now, because you're going to be asked.
Right, but we don't.
It's been a decade.
I appreciate that. We don't typically do government political advocacy. Our organization doesn't, as an economic development corporation. Chamber of Commerce's do, other bodies do, but we typically do not do that.
So would you support a vehicle miles traveled?
I don't know, Senator.
don't
I am
know.
just not in a position to weigh in on those things.
Okay.
I could ask my individual companies that represent my board, but our organization has never been involved in political advocacy on individual issues. I think Senator Menard can probably back me up on that. It's not something our organization typically does.
So you represent a bunch of business folks, right?
I have about 13 businesses, yes, in Decatur that make up our
So how do
organization.
they expect us to pay for this?
I don't know. I've not discussed it with them individually. I'm not in a position to speak on behalf of any one of those businesses. I appreciate you want an answer from me, but if I speak
I don't think I'm going to get one from you.
But if I speak on behalf of any one of those businesses without their permission,
Yeah.
I'll be freshening up my resume probably.
Yeah.
And so it's all joking aside, it is I have to be very careful doing that. So I believe there's a lot of things we can come to agreement on by working together, but I think it's difficult to weigh in on one individual issue.
All I know is that when I sat at the kitchen table, my wife says we need a new refrigerator. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about what kind of refrigerator she wants and all the different styles and colors and all that. And then we're going to have a conversation how we're going to pay for it. I can't fathom business people sitting in a room since 2009 trying to figure out how to pay for capital. That I don't understand. But
It's not something we've spent a lot of time talking about, the capital bill.
you just talk about needs,
The
great things you can have.
we talk about bringing business to this community, and we do that through efforts that we have are locally. The Midwest Inland Port is a completely privately funded effort.
You talk about tax credits, maybe?
Do we talk about tax credits?
Yeah.
Not typically.
No.
We talk
Mayor.
about what we can do to attract business to this community.
Mayor, support a gas tax, pay for this thing?
Let me say first that I'm not speaking on behalf of the city council. I'm speaking on
correct.
behalf of myself. So just though we're clear on that, because my council has not taken any kind of position at this point. One of the things that worries people in my community when taxes like this are proposed is that will Decatur, Macon County, will we get our fair share of that tax revenue? And that's one thing that's really scary when you start talking about adding a big fee onto gas taxes. I have supported gas taxes in the past. I have worked on that. And although I'm not ready to commit 100%, because 25 cents really hurts because I drive a lot, but we have to have a way to pay for this. You know, I'm concerned somewhat with federal gas tax being proposed, tax increase being proposed as well, that we could be really pricing ourselves out. However, at least from my standpoint, I'm in the middle of the state. I would think probably border cities would have a bigger issue with a gas tax. But I do understand we have to stand together and find a way to pay for it. I just need to make sure that there is not perhaps a guarantee, but a good formula that allows for sharing. And we know that our portion of that money will come back here. Because if I'm standing out in front saying, yes, let's raise this gas tax, and then every dollar goes to Chicago, I'm gonna be looking for a new resume too, or rewriting mine.
So would rather you, hold back than me get fired, right? Let me get fired. Let me and Menard get fired for the.
Well, I would hope, I really hope not. I really like Senator Menard, so, I hope he keeps his job for a long time. Yeah, and keep in mind, we did pass a gas tax here, which that's a little bit hard for a community to take. And, all I heard was, well, I'll never buy my gas in Decatur again. Well, everybody's gonna go to the county gas stations, the ones in Mount Zion and Forsyth. Well, those folks keep their gas prices about the same as Decatur's, but the county's not getting any money for it. But that's the only way we've been able to pave our streets. And, it's on the backs of my community members. So I have fought and, gone to the mat for gas taxes, for sewer increases, for utilities increases. We put a utility tax in as well. So, I've been there, I've done it, I've fought for the right reasons.
Chairman Greenfield, what do you think about gas tax? Would you support Senator Rose if he voted for a gas tax hike?
If he was chairman of the committee.
He's not here to defend himself. Senator Rose isn't here to defend himself, but why don't you?
Quite frankly, I wish it would have been implemented when gas was $2 a gallon. But would I support a gas tax? Absolutely. But like the mayor says, to support it, I would sure like to have some guarantees that the money's gonna stay here locally, be spent locally. And if that's the case, the roads we have at current time, the bridges, the shape they're in, and we could provide funding for that, absolutely. I don't know how else you're gonna do it.
So there's been I think, I read some report, there's like we are experiencing in Chicago, a declining population. Is Decatur still experienced that kind of,
Yes, we have been suffering a population decline for the past decade. But that doesn't take away the number of roads that have to be paved or sewers that have to be maintained, or police or fire protection. So like every other city in Illinois, we're facing a lot of challenges by, we're running out of people to tax, and we can't tax them to death or we'll lose even more.
what kind of help are you getting from Washington? Or fine congressmen from Washington, D.C.? What are they doing to help your cause?
Well, they've been very supportive of our efforts to get federal dollars back here.
In Chicago, we say that's a $1.50, that and $1.50 don't get you on Metro. Just being supportive of an issue is, that's a good thought, but have they delivered for you guys?
We have been lobbying for the different federal programs, the highway programs, for the past, very heavily the last 3 years. We have jointly between the city and the county hired a transportation coordinator, basically. What's Ann's title? She used to be the Secretary of Transportation for the state of Illinois. So,
Oh, okay.
Ann Schneider. But she works to help us, she's our lobbyist, helps us navigate different grants and different sources of money to try and package us to where we'll be successful. We've ranked in the top tier. We haven't come home with the money yet, but we've always ranked really high. We're really close. We just haven't gotten the cigar yet. I feel like we're in the right direction. However, power keeps changing in Washington, and so what they're looking at from a federal packaging standpoint, the current administration in Washington really wants public-private partnerships. I can't put a toll road on Route 51. That's not going to work here. So we don't qualify for some of the things that the administration would like us to be able to say that we can do. But we are working very hard with both of our senators as well as our congressmen here and anybody else who will listen to us when they come through town.
So, Mr. Chairman Greenfield, so her party's ruling the state, and your party's ruling
Again,
the country.
I am, not
So,
representing one party or another.
Got a little humor here,
Yeah, keep America great, Senator.
Yeah, right. So what do you guys say about your friends in Washington? What are they,
I've had
They're not delivering, right?
several conversations with Congressman Davis. He assures me that he's working as hard as he can to get us some federal funding. As the mayor says, we've hired actually 2 lobbyists, Mrs. Curry, the other one. And without their help, we wouldn't be near in the position we are right now. They've really helped us secure some money, as the mayor said, approximately $60 million. Unfortunately, the position we're in right now, we need some more money to fix the bridges that we currently have under, this won't meet the current needs.
What do you think, Mayor and Chairman, this last question. You believe that you should get that if your legislators don't support any revenue to pay for a capital bill, that they should receive any funding for their projects here in Decatur?
You know what, Senator, it's not up for me to speak for my legislatures. I think they understand the situation the state's in.
Would you expect them to vote on revenue?
I would hope that they would, providing that the circumstances are kept where, as I said earlier, that we're gonna receive the funding.
Would you be satisfied if you didn't vote on it and you wouldn't get anything?
Well, no, I wouldn't be very happy about it, especially if we're gonna close a couple of bridges here in Macon County that's vital to the economic interest of Macon County. But I understand how politics work too, Senator, so.
It ain't politics, it's straight up, it's transparency. Mayor?
Well, I feel very fortunate that I have a good working relationship with all of the elected officials that currently represent this area. And we have both parties represented. We have, a senator from each side. We have a representative from each side. And it's my job to go to them and explain why this is so important to our community and to the people they serve. These are roads and bridges, the basic transportation system in our community. They are critical to our success. We have never asked for a handout. We haven't asked for anybody to bail us out of any problem we have. What we are asking for is what we need to keep this community going and growing. It starts with transportation. We are a transportation hub. Without roads, without bridges, we can't do it. These are critical to our farmers, they're critical to our companies, they're critical to our residents. So it's on me to go to Senator Menard, Senator Rose, and our 2 representatives and explain why I critically need them to support funding for transportation. But along with Chairman Greenfield, we have to know if they're gonna go out on that limb for some of them and make that vote, we have to know that the money's coming back. It's that simple. But I will fight for a transportation bill, for a capital bill, if I can get money back in my area. And I can be really annoying.
Hey, right. I would only suggest to both of you elected that you spend some time with the business people in Decatur that they need to get with the program because they're still trying to figure life out.
And I will tell you, I used to run the Chamber of Commerce years ago, and we did take business people to Springfield and to Washington to talk about transportation issues and supporting capital projects. And our companies have always been very good about stepping up to the plate and explaining to our representatives and our senators why it's important to their business.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions for this panel? Just to put some context on the point that the mayor made, we haven't discussed this point yet to date for the joint subcommittee hearings, but we all battle balance of transportation dollars from a statewide basis, but there's a severe question of balance within District 7 and where money in the multi-year plan is spent in District 7. So not to put another issue on the agenda of the joint subcommittee, but even within districts and IDOTs, when the mayor, I'm not going to put words in her mouth, everyone knows that, but when the mayor talks about resources to Decatur, Macon County, that's a reference to within District 7 as much as it is within the state itself. All right, thank you, the 3 of you, for providing testimony to us today.
And thanks again to all of you for coming to our city. You're welcome anytime. I can take you out and show you the best burger in town if you have time.